All right, I'm not seeing any video on my end, which is odd. Oh, okay, cool. If you can see me, then that's all that really matters. I can't see myself, so hopefully everything looks fine. Welcome to today's video. Today, well, first off, thank you for showing up and watching this, whether it is live or after the fact. But this will be available later on. Quick introduction. This is an SFX fiber laser that I just picked up on the used market. It is a JPT LP source, a couple years old, and it spent its previous life in a machine shop with like welding and fabrication. And this thing has definitely seen better days. I got it for a really good price because they couldn't figure out what's wrong with it. After a couple videos and consulting with a close advisor, that's you, Kyle, I think we determined that it's not the source because of what the laser was doing. So it was like marking or like tracing, framing in weird areas. And then in some spots, it would mark well on the edges, but not in the center. So it didn't seem like there was damage to like the fiber source itself because it was marking well when it was marking. Didn't seem like there was damage to like the collimator, which I confirmed when I picked up the laser. I pulled the galvo head off in the shroud here and pulled the collimator back and looked at the lens there, and everything seemed a-okay. So today what we're going to do is tear into this thing, give it a good cleaning, and maybe try and figure out what's wrong with it. So buckle up, it's going to be a ride. I've really no true experience aside from yesterday in a hot shop pulling apart any fiber lasers, and the head was really the only part that I got to. So it's going to be interesting to say the least. But yeah, if not, it'll be informative, at least for me, and hopefully you guys as well. Let's see, we already have some chat. Andrew Foot. Very nice. That must be Ace the Pig. Appreciate you showing up, man. So, having already taken the galvo head off, Kyle and I kind of thought at first that it might be the mirrors or the galvo head itself receiving some sort of damage. This red's on it, so it's going to take a moment. So the original lens that came with it was a Jolly Star, because apparently that's what SFX ships with their machines. Where'd that lens box go? There it is. And the reason that they stopped using it in the first place was because I'm hoping you can see, but here in the center of the lens, there's a burn spot. So with the spot being burned like that, they bought a new lens. So they went from this Jolly Star that is a big boy. I did measure it last night. It does seem to be an M85 thread still, but you can take the OPEX lens that was on it and almost fit the entire thing inside the ring of this lens. So this is definitely a funky lens. It threw me off at first. Then Kyle did confirm that Jolly Star is what ships with SFXs. An interesting thing is that I took this ring out last night. This seems to be a sacrificial lens. And if you take, I don't know if you guys can see anything through this or not, But if you take the sacrificial lens off, all seems to be well with this lens. So these guys that I bought this from didn't know anything about lasers. So I'm just going to leave this off for now and put it in a safe place. The lens itself doesn't seem to be damaged. So that's good news. Let's see what chat's saying. Oh, Andrew F showed up. Sweet. Not even the first Andrew F. Andrew Farmer, meet Andrew Foot. Yeah, he already did have to change his name in Discord. He had to become Gary the Pig because there was already an Ace Master. Anyhow, the Galvo head, again, not sure if you guys can see because I can't see. I don't know why my screen isn't showing, but the mirrors don't appear to have any damage to them. And the head doesn't appear to have any damage to it, aside from being dirty. So we're going to get to the bottom of why this wasn't marking, which should be interesting. I want to, I have an idea. If you don't have yourself a roll of Beam It Up laser tape, shoot, I can't even tell you to go get you some because the marketplace is down. I'm going to have to talk to one of the Andrew F. See if I can get this stuff listed on my website for sale. Because with the LE or the Makerspace Maker Remix marketplace being down at the moment, there's no place to buy it. Am I the only non-Andrew? All right. So I want to protect the Galvo head and the lens. I didn't get a lens cover with that lens. So I want to protect the Galvo as much as possible. This may not even be correct protocol, but I feel like something's better than nothing. So there's that. I love that tape, man. Yeah, that tape's the bomb. In fact, I think Bronson's going to be coming down to visit next week. And I got to throw him a couple rolls because he has already burned through his supply. And I'm missing the proper size of Allen key. Kind of threw this batch together yesterday on my way out the door to go pick up that laser. And I missed a size. And of course, the size I missed is the size that SFX uses for a lot of stuff on this laser. I almost said computer. All right. So I believe in order to get the case open, because I want to check the inside of this thing. Like I said, if you guys missed it at the beginning of this, this was a rescue from a welding and fabrication shop. They were using it to put serial numbers and their company logo on pieces that they fabricated. And ooh, that just deformed my wrench a little bit. Let's see if we can find a better metal one. What'd Kyle say? That's how you do it. You're in the situation, probably best to keep it clean with the spacer there. Yep. That's what I was hoping for. Thank you for your stamp of approval, sir. Poor Kyle, having to watch people and their shady methods everywhere. Well, this is going to be a problem. And I think that my one and only Allen key is going to be the wrong size. Well, this might be a short live stream, folks, because these guys do not want to come out, and I don't have some high-speed tempered bits for every size. I believe this one's going to be too big. Yep. Nope. And these things are just, it's so tight that it's like stripping the key. You're only as good as your tools, and I am, ooh, here we go, failing right now. Am I still showing up? Can you guys, this is frustrating. Oh, okay, I'm back. Woo! Look at that. The great and powerful Alex is showing up. Thank you guys. Thank everybody for showing up. I appreciate it. Hopefully I don't make myself look too stupid today. Now the pressure's on. That guy down here. Okay, so this should just slide right up and out, right? Yep, there we go. Clean that one later. And the big reveal. Okay, this is a lot cleaner on the inside than I thought it was going to be. I saw the filters on these vents here on the back, and that out of the way. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but these filters here just looked pretty foul. So I was a little apprehensive, but not so apprehensive that I didn't give them my money. But yep, so we have a JPT model YDFLP-E-50-LP-L.R. So it has the source that they had said it had in it, so that's a good thing. So that means that I'll have, for the time being, a 30-watt JPT-LP and a 50-watt JPT-LP. I'm going to take a second to towel myself off. Good grief. All right. So, very cool stuff. This, like I said, isn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. So, yeah, that's pretty awesome. One thing that I know a lot of people have mentioned before, especially if you watch Alex's videos, the back of these are kind of cool. The connectors that SFX uses are like, for the power cord, it's got a 3-prong cord on that end, but instead of just your like trapezoid shaped PC connector, it has like an aircraft style pin connector that that plugs into it. And then the rotary, it came with a rotary, so now I have not one, but two I think this is a 125. This looks exactly like my D125. This one's not marked on the head like mine was, but this is exactly like, yeah, it's exactly like my D125 that I have. So, I mean, that's a couple $100 right there at least. So that's cool. Clean my hands off real quick. So far, so good. I mean, it looks like we're in a good position. Everything looks okay. The source fiber line isn't like kinked or anything. Everything's pretty well connected. The USB is super glued in. I don't know. I'm pretty sure you guys can probably see that. and then connected to the board, and that's super glued in too. So they definitely didn't want that stuff coming loose during shipment. I might take a quick look at my dip switches. I'm going to take a picture of this while I have it open. And I think that's going to help me know my steps. That way I don't have to guess it. It's funny, my two lasers, the 5-watt UV and the 30-watt from Lasers Only. So I have a Haoshin and a Lasers Only laser, and both of them came with the same steps per rotation, which is set at like 32,000 and some change, which I think, I don't know how common that is. It seems like people have lower steps. Reseat controller connectors, okay. Laser path alignment with the scan head. Yeah, that's one of the things. I don't have voltage to test the issues with the laser. I don't know, for those of you that missed it, the issue with the laser is it'll fire. There's no issues with it firing. The initial lens that came with the laser, this Jolly Star, the sacrificial lens on it got marred up, and I don't think they knew what it was, so they bought a new lens. Now, I'm speculating on this, and I might be getting ahead of myself, but trash. I think that they probably didn't take very good care of the lenses too, just because of the environment that it was in. I mean, they have a brand new Thunder laser in there to replace this one, and it's probably 50 feet away from a guy's like arc welding and like grinding and doing all this stuff. And yeah, I don't think they really know how to properly take care of the laser, which isn't necessarily on them because they're probably just used to all their machinery that they use and whatnot, and they didn't think about this for what it is. So my speculation is, and hopefully we'll find out today, I think when they went from the Jolly Star to this OPEX lens that they bought, I think the spacer on it might not be the right spacer for this lens. Because she sent me a video and it was engraving on the left and the right pretty well, but in the center, it wasn't like really doing anything. And then when she went to frame it, the framing laser was all the way up here and just looked like gibberish. So I don't know if, in relation to the Galvo head, the laser, the lens was in the correct position. So I think what I'm going to try to do is pull the spacer and lens out of my 30-watt and throw it on this guy and see if it does anything. So that's kind of like my mode of thinking, because there's no damage to the lenses. There's no damage to the collimator that I could tell when I pulled it back a little bit. The collimator, one of the bolts that holds it in place, did seem like it didn't seem like it came loose. It did come loose. So I'm going to try to get that back into position. And then, like Alex mentioned, I'm going to have to test the beam travel in relation to the opening where the Galvo head's at to make sure that that's lined up. So these are all factors. Maybe that collimator just kind of shifted a little bit when that bolt came out. And it was one of 8 bolts holding it in place, so I'm not sure. Sorry if that was a lot of wind noise. I have a fan blowing in here because it's kind of warm and humid today. So, all right. So I'm just going to lightly blow some of this dust out of here. And, oh, we got a long comment here. Since you have it apart, check your beam alignment with the scan head. Yep. As well, if your first test doesn't work, you can use black tape with glasses on to mark the tape placed over the. Yep. That's exactly what I was going to do, because I watched your head upgrade on the CO2 Galvo. with the beam expander. And I think that's what you did.
If it isn't entering the scan head in any causes symptoms.
Yep. Yes, sir. That was my method or mode of thinking, line of thinking. So kind of like when you're trying to line up your mirrors with a CO2 gantry system, you want like set a piece of tape, hit pulse, and you want it to hit that tape in the center of your holes. And that's basically what we need with this galvo head, because the beam travels down here. And then there's this deal called a collimator, which the collimator takes the, when the cable terminates, it kind of like scatters the light, because that's what light does. And then it's going to take that beam and turn it into a straight line beam, or as straight as possible. There is a little bit of like a kind of bow to it, and that's all like light physics and stuff that I don't really understand. But yeah, so the goal is to get the narrowest part of that beam to be the part that hits the mirrors, I believe, so that it shoots the finest line down. I'm probably talking out of my butt right now, but from all the reading I've done, it seems like it's
Let's see, we're missing some likes.
oh, thank you guys. Thank you very much. So yeah, anyhow, check the connections. Like everything here seems to be very connected. Like no looseness at all. You said reseat it, so so this is for the source, 2-fiber laser. Bam. And then this is to the scan head, which if we're having scan head symptoms, then maybe everything seems solid. And the other end of this goes to the back of the scan head, which I'll try and clean that contact out, because that's his part that's super dirty. Let's see, for the record, I don't think reseating is going to fix. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Just a smart boy move.
For sure, dude. For sure. Yeah, I don't think that's probably a solution to this particular problem either, but it's never a bad idea. So this one's a little bit kind of covered by wiring and stuff. I think I'm just gonna, it's not loose or anything, so I think that's gonna be good enough. Fiber line is good. I'm just gonna give this a little shot of air, and I think we're gonna call it good. Have some, boom, canned air here. Woo, man. Oh yeah, look at that. Woo. Clean that filter out. What's Andrew saying? Reseating connections definitely can help sometimes. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Piece of rubber or something. And this is why I put the tape down. Vacuum that up a little bit later. Okay, I'm pretty good with that. I mean, I could probably give this thing a full wipe down, but for today's purposes, I've cracked this open. So I've broken the seal on this and me opening up a fiber laser. So I'm pretty content. Let me give this part a wipe down. When you're first getting into lasers and laser engraving, and like I started with diodes, which are ultra simplistic when compared to fibers, but this can be kind of intimidating. And yeah, it's definitely kind of like a big step being comfortable with this kind of thing for future endeavors. And that's kind of some of the reason that I got this machine too. Like, I really wanted something that maybe I could make some content with. I want to do a better job at keeping up with putting stuff out. This is my second live stream of the week, so I'm pretty happy with that, and I want to keep it up. So this thing, I think, will help generate some content just with the project itself. If we don't get it fired up and running correctly today, then there'll definitely be some future content on how we're going to rectify this issue. And this could be kind of a long stream because I have 3.5 hours until shop closes, and not much to do today because I'm waiting for some stuff in the mail to finish up a job I've been working on. So okay, so this is spread apart a little bit. Oh, that's why, because that's not seated correctly. Couldn't see it from where I was standing, but I wonder if I did this backwards. Seems like this would need the venting though. There we go. All right. All right, that one slid in a lot easier. So there's that. Do I see Cuban cracked? Oh no, Engraved Dreams. Logan, everyone. Let's get frustrated with this fiber together. Yeah, it's not too frustrating so far. Shit, that probably sounded terrible. I'm sorry, guys. I was worried about the internals condition. I thought there was going to be a lot more in it than there was. So I'll take this apart again and just kind of fine tune some dusting and whatnot on it just to get it a little cleaner. But overall, I'm not displeased with how it was. Not as much as I thought it was going to be. The shop that it was in, I really thought it was going to be an issue, but it seems to be a lot better. So connections seem to be good. The ones that weren't glued were tightly screwed. Hopefully I don't come across as being lewd. I can't help myself. I'm sorry. And there go the viewers. All right. So if you've never seen this done or done it yourself, it's not as scary as it looks. But obviously, you don't want to just bust into this thing on a whim. But many have done it before me, and many will do it after. It's not as scary as I thought. I was sweating like a pig, though, taking that head assembly apart. It was rough, but I just didn't have a table to work on and any of that too. So that changes things a little bit. I'll try and check the chat as often as I can. I see people are typing, and I appreciate the engagement, guys. And I appreciate Alex and Kyle sending some people this way. It was awesome of them. And it would be remiss of me not to say, if you want to see more content like this in the future, maybe the very near future, if this doesn't get solved today, then a like and a subscribe would be awesome. Hey, look, it's We Do Widgets. He left a comment on my last live stream when I did the Xtool screen printer. Speaks for how great these machines are, and be fair, take the side panels off. Me neither. And yeah, my lasers only machine over here, it looks like it opens up the same exact way. There's 3 Allen bolts on the front of it, and then the top lifts off. So, I mean, a lot of this stuff is like ultra generic. I know like probably companies like Mactron and stuff like that have more of a proprietary system maybe for their cases. I can't speak for those for sure because I don't have one and I haven't had hands on one. But as far as like most of the lasers, I'm sure like this is just kind of your generic case that super easy to take apart. And now when people ask how to do it, I can say with experience and confidence that it's not that bad. So next we're going to take the Galvo head off. Make sure this is the right size. It is. And it is kind of tight in here. So it's going to take some time and some fidgeting to get this to come out. Yesterday, I got them backed out far enough that I could just use my fingertips to kind of spin them. And I wasn't wearing gloves then, so I had less traction. But up to 8 viewers now. Thanks, We Do Widgets, for joining. Did you make all of that Xtool unboxing or just the end? So what, that Xtool screen printer is a really neat tool. It's a lot sturdier than I anticipated it being, with it being like all solid aluminum extrusion and stuff, or not necessarily extrusion, but like extruded aluminum or whatever you want to call it. But most of it, cool, man. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I first found out about it, I think it was Michael from Laser Engraving 911 was the first one I saw doing a review on it. And I was like, wait, what? And I've been working a lot with this restaurant, and we had some really good results with doing like UV lasering on the fabric. And then we had some not so great results with it, unfortunately. So he and I spoke and we're like, maybe just for simplicity's sake, we can switch over to the screen printing and kind of maybe work with some interesting different ideas there. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to pull the trigger on this thing after watching Michael review it. And he seemed very happy with it. And I have more than a couple diodes laying around. So the screen printing, for those of you who don't know, it's Xtool made their own proprietary frame and system. And it's like really high speed. It's very cool. And instead of what they typically do, where they take the screen and I guess you treat it with a material and then you have to let it cure for a certain number of hours or whatever, you just buy these pre-treated screens and they stretch fit on this frame that you kind of pop it into, and then you laser off from the back. You laser off whatever you want to laser, and you have to be sure to mirror it so that you don't accidentally have a backwards design. So you laser it from the back, you take it, set it on the frame, and then you can set your articles of clothing or whatever it is you're going to screen print on. And it works really well. I'm working on a video for that. I recorded some footage. I have some more stuff to do, but overall, I'm well pleased with the process. The color selection, I was a little confused on. I have to go back and reread the listing because I could swear it said it came with like black, white, and red, but I ended up getting a kit that had 5 colors. It was like black, blue, which the blue looks very dark, like a navy blue, yellow, red, and gold with glitter, it says. The red, here, I can actually, it's sitting right here. The red turns out to be more of like a magenta, and it seems like it has, maybe not, but it's like more like a magenta color. So be careful if you're expecting like fire engine red or something like that. It's very much like a purplish red, or like I said, a magenta. And it definitely, when it dries, I put it on black thinking it was going to be a brighter red, but when it dries, it's definitely like a purpley color. So they didn't do a great job at marketing that color, right? Because it's definitely not red. All right, so we got the Galvo head off, and you can see on the sticker here, you've got RC 7110 10 millimeter aperture and 1064 nanometer wavelength. So you can kind of tell this logo here, I believe, is Sino Galvo. It's pretty quick and easy to tell that. And then the other one's like ZBTK, and those typically have kind of like a black plastic siding on them. I think there are other smaller companies that make them that are kind of more off-brand, but Kyle's chiming in, maybe to correct me. Don't mess with the paint when you're playing with optics, scaring me. I checked, I didn't touch anything. But yeah, that's one thing you have to be aware of for sure. Thank you for bringing that up, Kyle. When you're doing screen printing, that mess gets everywhere. You can see there's like paint smudges here. There's some of that purple paint there. Oh, and I just busted a glove. There's black paint over here because like you're trying to like get this all finagled and set up, and then you touch something and you leave a black mark on it. So that's kind of annoying, but you got to be careful. Just to set Kyle's mind at ease and to get my middle finger covered back up, I'll put on a new set of gloves here. Is there any questions anybody has, or anything you want to see in particular? Was a very valid point. All right, I'm let hands dry and cool off a little bit before I try and put the next round of gloves on. This red dot here, I'm debating just getting rid of this. It's cool to have that quick reference, but at this point, I'm going to have a 110, a 160, a 200, a 175, I think is what the lenses were that came with this, and a 300. So that's 5 different size lenses. I don't know why we have watching. Oh, shoot, we're up to 11? Gosh darn, man. Thank you guys so much. This is awesome. But now I forgot what I was saying. Oh, the red marking laser for alignment or whatever. It's kind of a like I'm not super into it. Focal sticks or using a ruler or something to measure. I've seen, and I kind of want to try this, but people make like those chain beads or bead chains. If there's any physical routine maintenance we should keep in mind for fiber. Physical maintenance, Kyle and Alex could probably chime in if they disagree, but I mean, as far as physical maintenance, I don't really think there's only like what 2 moving parts in a fiber laser if you don't count fans, and that's the X Galvo and the Y Galvo. So I don't think physically maintaining anything is going to be too big of a deal. I think preventative type stuff, like making sure that, like what I did with this, and I should probably throw a piece of tape over the aperture too for the inlet, just to be safe. But like what I just did, having this apart, having a piece of tape over the opening where the mirrors are, and now I put the tape to this opening here so that it's not getting dusty. So you want to keep a lens in your Galvo head and then keep a lens cover on your lens so your lens doesn't get dirty.
Generally, just dusting the main box out if you get leaving near the floor.
Yep, that's a good point too, Kyle. There we go. So I'm just thinking about not running this laser, the alignment beam, not like this laser, but the red dot. Because if you're doing a good job measuring and you have focal sticks, etc., there's really not much use for this thing because it's going to help me with maybe one lens out of the stare right into the aperture. I think it must be killing the feed when my laptop goes to sleep. So let me turn that off. You have to forgive me. I'm new to this. To increase battery life, your Mac will stream hiding standard dynamic range. Boom. Okay, so that should have solved that. Sorry about that, guys. Unless it's one of those lines, still the dot. Anthony knows better. About winterizing? Yeah, winterizing, if I don't think most of the other stuff is gonna, I mean, obviously you don't want it in like 50 below weather. There you go, Kyle. Kyle just answered. All right, so the one thing I always try to stay very cognizant of too is having some sort of support for the fiber, because I don't want it to sag too much. I know it sags when it's hanging, but I don't know. I'm kind of cautious about that. Just you. I don't know why you'd feel that way. Love me some Anthony. Well, I love you guys too. Appreciate it. Since most of you watching are part of the Laser Everything community, I'm sure you don't have to be told how awesome the community itself is and how great the people are that put it together. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't have the confidence to even try something like this. I mean, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when I first discovered the videos and the podcasts and all that, I literally would have been like way too afraid to even like think about something like this. But through the interactions with the community and learning about fiber lasers for the last 3 years, it's a piece of cake. The scan head, I mean. Oh, here we go. Bud Squad.
take it off.
The scan head, I mean, the scan head is off. I'm sorry, I'm blocking this. Like I said, I'm new to this and I'm probably terrible at it. I apologize. The scan head is off. So we're just taking apart this area here to expose where the beam comes out of the laser. And there's a screw that I need to tighten back up or put back in because there's like a U-shaped clamp with 4 bolt holes on either side that comes down on top of the collimator to hold it in spot. It's still because you don't want that thing moving around because that's what shoots the beam out to your galvo head. And as sensitive as the galvo head is, and I mean, you're using a 10 millimeter beam, and the mirrors for the galvo head aren't much larger than that. So, I mean, any amount of movement, especially at distance, because there's that space right here. So any amount of movement is going to be greatly exaggerated. And just like with the CO2, you can end up with like a beam strike or something like that on one of the parts, or just the beam, part of the beam's missing the mirror. So that was part of my game plan, and I'm glad that Alex kind of agreed and corroborated that. So I guess I'm not completely off base with what I was thinking. Passable. B minus. Hey, you know what? At this point, I will take a B minus, sir. B minus is like an A plus for a seasoned vet. So you can hear that screw jiggle around when I move this thing. All right. So stretch that out a little. And then this, kind of like the sides to the case, it literally just slides straight in, goes into those rails. So you have basically inside this umbilical here, you got your 4 wires. This is for the aiming laser or the alignment laser. Then you have your 2 wires going for the galvo. And then obviously the bright yellow one is for the fiber laser source. And this is what I was talking about earlier, the collimator. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So the fiber cable terminates, and then the light passes through here. And at the end of the collimator, it should be a more or less straight beam. Yeah, I already did that. I shouldn't have to stop for any bathroom breaks. It was a 3.5 hour drive to pick this thing up yesterday, and I had 3 bathroom breaks each way. I was slamming waters and ghosts. Those have been my new jam lately. Anybody else like those? The ghosts. There's a watermelon flavor that I'm like hooked on. All right, so, and this has kind of like the same way that you mount the galvo to the platform. This has the little sliders underneath that you screw into to hold it still, so you can actually slide this. "90 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise." So I'm going to turn it this way or this way. Clockwise would be this way. So yeah. All right, fine. This is a sketchy ass table I bought for $30. So if something disastrous happens, this is going to be 100% on Alex. Yeah, I should have done. Yeah, I should have did that from the get go. My apologies. I kind of did that with the X Tool unboxing. I kind of stood to that side instead of in the way of the camera like an idiot. But I don't know. I think the anxiety got to me on this one. So, boom. Better? Preem. All right. It's noise angle. Yeah, this is the PTZ. So, I've been tearing apart this place for the last couple weeks. Excuse the mess. There's shit thrown everywhere, but you can see I got this sick PTZ specifically for stuff like this. So there's position 1, boom. So that's the UV laser. Position 2 is where I have the fiber right now, the 30 watt with my fan blowing on me because I'm fat and sweat a lot. And then boom, there's 1, and then there's one of the diodes, and then there's my fat head, and there's a table. I had another diode on there. I think I'm gonna buy another one of these tables so I can put some stuff where it needs to go. But I think yeah, I think that that's gonna be where the Niji is gonna move to. And then I think I'm gonna put this over there for now. And then eventually I'll get my CO2, which will be sitting there right next to the window that I vent out of when I'm using the laser. So now I got to go back. And I don't have the video feed on my screen. Time to bust out the phone. My videos. Sorry, guys. It'll be just a moment. Such an amateur. I can't even see my own freaking live feed. Here we go. Live. No. I can go here, hit the link, and there we go. All right. So, of course, there's a delay. All right. That looks, let's go up a hair. All right. I think we're just going to leave it there for now. How's that looking, guys? Which CO2 do I have? That's some fast PTZ. Yeah, dude. I like it. I like it a lot. Oh my gosh, I just threw up. Okay, so maybe I need to slow it down. Sorry about that. I didn't make anybody seasick. Nice. And that the zoom on this is pretty dope. Let's see. We can go in pretty close. I worry about zooming in too much because then it narrows down the field of where I can hold random shit up and you guys can watch it. So, or see it rather. So it's got a, I think 20x zoom on it. So it'll go in toit, like a Toiger. Yeah, 20 by 1. So, and then I think I can turn on like another 10 power of digital zoom, but I'm not really about that life. I don't think I need to get in that tight on stuff. So, I don't know. Pretty nifty. As long as my internet can keep up with the bandwidth. So, all right. What do I do with my gloves? The whole world shifted to the right. Don't apologize for anything. Get what we get, and it's perfect. All right. Let's see. Engraved Dreams. What CO2 do I have? I bought an 80 watt OhmTech. Is it OhmTech? Yeah, an OhmTech 80 watt CO2 with a 600 by 900 bed, and I got it secondhand, just like this guy. Show me where it hurts. Right here. Oh shit! I hit the lav mic. Sorry, guys. So yeah, I got a 80 watt Ohm Tech that I got previously owned. But when I got it in, like this thing, 100%, aside from like the acrylic where the lid bends so you can see through the front and through the top, it's one solid piece of acrylic. Where it makes that bend, there's like some pitting and a little crack. But other than that, it really honestly didn't even look like this laser had been used. So either OhmTech does that good of a job at refurbishing their stuff, or I got a really good deal on a pretty much not used machine. So it's been great. I've done cuts. I cut through for that restaurant I worked with. I cut through like an inch and five. Was it like an inch and a quarter? It was an inch and a quarter thick board with it. It was like edge glued boards and for a sign, and it came out great. It took some time, and I started one fire and had to buy a new board. But hey, you know, you live, you learn, you buy Huggies or Loves or whatever the commercial says. All right, so this bad boy is coming back. I bet you I probably could have just undone this top part here and taken it out. So for those of you who have never seen the inside of one of these guys, which I was one of those people up until yesterday, I once was like you. Oh, man, I can't. Are you guys subbed to Anthony's channel yet? That was my first machine also. Then shimming the tube to match the gantry angle hasn't been bad. Definitely something we'll spend for operations. Yeah, I mean they're good machines. I was going to buy, I think, a 10 watt UV, and I talked with Matt about it, and Matt was like, dude, don't get a 10 watt UV. You probably don't need that much power. Get a 5 watt UV, and then you can get a CO2 gantry because that's an aspect of the business that you don't already have covered. Because I had 5 or 6 diodes at the time and 0 CO2s. So being very careful with this. This is the collimator. This is the part where the beam comes out and then travels to the mirrors and hits that. So as you can see, there doesn't appear to be any damage to that. So there was no flashback to damage the lens or anything. I believe it's good to go. I don't think that this is the failure point of the laser. In fact, I gambled on that with my money. Definitely want to be careful with it though, because I don't want to create a failure point. Come on, you little bastard. Oh, there we go. I was angled up a little bit. Got to hit it from the right angle, fellas. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time and energy. And you can take that however you will. A simple green disappeared on me. So this is a spacer, and it fit over the cap of that collimator to help get it in the right position. And thanks for the sub, guys. I appreciate that. Yes, that is the tip. So yeah, this little silicone cap here fits over the end of the collimator and this block here. And that's why I was comfortable releasing this, because once I get the cap back on the collimator, it being butted up against this block should space it out to the correct spacing for what it needed to be aligned with the head of the laser. So I think we're good to go there. Is there anything else anybody wants to see while we're here? Universal life rule. Yep. Wait, I think that was already there. So I'm going to go ahead and secure these bolts again real quick. I don't see anybody requesting anything. Not that far, stupid. And as you can see, hopefully, there is some wiggle room here. So now that I've unbolted this and moved it, what Alex recommended is 1000% going to have to be done. And we're going to have to make sure that the collimator is aiming in the proper direction, because this cap is silicone. It's going to allow some play. So I want to make sure it's aiming in the proper direction to get downfield perfectly into the center of the mirrors. So that looks pretty good, like it's secure. So for the meantime, I'll probably just put a couple of these bolts in until we get to the right alignment. And then we can tighten the others down and then test it again to ensure that we're still in proper alignment. And these screws here will help adjust like with height and stuff like that too. So you can thread the bottom ones or the back ones out further than the front ones to adjust it like down or up or however you need to do it. Bam. All right. So what we'll probably do is I'm unthreading the front lens of this aiming laser. There we go. Put that back on. I hope that kept going. This is frustrating. Even though it's on power and I told it not to power off while it's on power, it's still turning off. So hopefully it didn't interrupt the stream, but is anybody still there? Hopefully I didn't lose connection or something silly. All right, cool. Thanks, Kyle. Or is that Kyle? I can't read from back here. Oh no, We Do Widgets. Thanks, We Do Widgets. Can you hear that fan? Is it making a lot of noise in the background? Should I kill it and just sweat it out like a truffle pig? We're good. Appreciate it. Duh, you gotta have a screw there, silly. All right, so I'm gonna try and get this bad boy put back together so that we can start getting to running this thing. Like I said, I'm gonna leave the shroud off. Set this back here for now so that we can make the adjustments we need to, because I'm going to need to bolt this guy back on so we can attach the galvo head. I should have, when I had that unscrewed, went ahead and wiped all this down. But I'm not going to waste your guys' time with cleaning and maintenance and stuff. We'll just get it serviceable. All right, so that was the one that held the laser in place. We're not going to need again. All right. Oh no. You thought you had it. Sucker. All right, there we go. I think we got it there. So let's try and thread this in. Threading it in by hand's not working out so hot, so I really like those Allen keys. They're not great for putting down a lot of torque, but the ones that have kind of the ball shape to the end of them, so you can kind of like get a good angle and still be able to tighten. Yeah. All right. Now there's the lazy part of me that wants to say, let's just put 2 of them in. But then there's a part of me that says 4 of them is going to get it exactly where it needs to be perfectly aligned the way that's going to be when the galvo head goes on. So you're going to have to suffer through me putting on 2 more screws. At least part of this one's exposed so I can get it mostly threaded in before having to wrestle with the Allen key. All right, so we got all 4 of those on. Oh, I think I screwed up. They're not cheap, but should check with Chapman sets for drivers. Oh, yeah, probably. I think I know what you're talking about. All right, so we'll get this over here. And when I said I think I screwed up, there are there are 4 little nuts that squeeze in here. And when I took the head apart yesterday, they fell out. And I'm sure you just guessed correctly. They're right here. So without them, I can't attach the Galvo head. So luckily the back comes off. And it's already fairly loose because this is the way I took it apart yesterday. I just wasn't super comfortable with the way I had to move things around and didn't want to do it again. But I don't have to move things around too much today. All right. So that's off, and all I got to do is slide these guys in real quick. So as far as mistakes, that wasn't too much of a time eater. Just trying not to kink that fiber line, which is why I didn't want to take it off from the back. All right. So is this anybody's first time seeing a top assembly on a fiber laser getting taken apart? You learn anything new today? I hope so. That was one of the driving factors, was like, hey, this is an opportunity for not only me to take my, what I guess you could call theoretical knowledge of how things work and turn it into like a practical knowledge of how these things work. So, and now with this platform, I'm going to share it with you guys too. Oh, that's the drivers again. Okay. Hopefully we still got a decent amount of people's attention. We're down to 7, but oh, here we go. What's up? Grave Dreams. I'll be rewatching this forever. I have to tear mine down. Some information. Great and meaningful stream. Thank you. Yeah, hopefully I'll get this. I don't even know if I'll edit it. I might just throw it right out and make it available immediately. Not that everybody's going to need it immediately, but I don't know. I'm not great at video editing, and I don't want to have one more reason to not ever get this posted back up. So I'll just leave it up as a live stream and leave it public for everybody to see. I'll throw this in with my junk stuff. And I believe that's the screw that held it in. I know I'm hiding things again, sorry. So I don't know if you can see or not. Ugh, I don't like that. But there's one of those nuts, just like I put in the bottom of this, right here. And this is the screw that had fallen out. So I can use this Allen wrench here to get it lined back up. And then use the appropriately sized key to
hopefully get that back in. And nothing. It doesn't reach. So I don't really want to have to twist this. Of course, that's going to happen. We lost another one. I noticed a couple minutes ago that one was unscrewed as well. So I'm going to unscrew these to hopefully allow this to move up a little bit and contact that nut. So these two screws in the middle thread all the way down to the bottom. So I'm going to back them out some to try and get this down as flat as possible. Hopefully get contact with that nut. Welcome aboard the struggle bus. And we are not quite in yet. There we go. Got contact on that one. And then where's the other screw that just fell out? And maybe these need to be unthreaded for the beam to be properly aligned. I don't know. I want to get this back to the way that I would imagine it was when it shipped out. And then try not to fat finger too much stuff. So get it back to as close to possible as the way I would imagine it probably was when it shipped. And then if they do loosen up during the adjustments that we have to make, then I'm just going to go ahead and assume that that's what was necessary. And we'll go from there. So that's back on. And then the fun job of getting these aligned. I shouldn't have cranked it all the way down. You gotta be able to squeeze my big head in between these. There's no way I got this right the first time on that. Ah, shoot, look at that. All right, so I'm not gonna lock this down because I'm gonna have to take it back off anyways. And this is just any adjustments I need to make to keep this centered on the field will be something we do after the fact. So, all right, we got some new input. Killing it, dude. Keep up, gotta run. Thanks for joining us, Bob Squad Gaming. Bod Squad. Appreciate the recommendation for the sub. All right, so now I'm going to move this back. And for the moment, we're going to turn this way. So that hopefully you guys can see I know Kyle, if he's still watching, probably just gotten nervous. It's like, you're going to knock that off the table. All right, I guess that's going to be fine there. So hopefully you can see like where we are with the collimator. So taking the silicone cap, butting it up there. This is really snug inside this body here. And so we're just going to take this guy and snug it up. Oops, wrong size. So like I said, these are going to be for elevation and tilt control. So I'm just going to tighten these guys right here to lock it into the chassis. So we are at base level, I believe. Yep. So these are all bottomed out. This is flush with this part right here. And then we're going to there's no power plugs over here. So now I'm thinking I'm going to have to unplug my battery back up and figure this out. So give me a second, guys. All right. It's already beeping. Going to sleep. Hopefully it's not killing the feed when it goes to sleep. I'll have to figure that out sooner than later. Okay, so again, nifty connectors. The USB connection, it's a USB A to A instead of the USB type B that we're used to seeing. And it just pops into place and locks. It's cool that it locks. I like that. It's something I never really considered, but it's a good design so you don't accidentally unplug it. And it won't cause damage to your USB cable if you move things around a little bit. So it's plugged into the UPS. Sorry, I was using my laptop as a table for some stuff, not thinking that I was going to have to use it because I'm a silly boy. All right. Proof that I have a Windows machine. It's nothing special, but It's Winders. Okay, so we're going to launch Lightburn. And now we're going to find out how the beam is on this thing. I feel like I should probably move this again, because you guys are going to want to see the business end of this. It's barely enough room to keep everything here. All right. Cool. So we can stay there. Appear the last project. I don't care. All right. So it doesn't matter right now about what machine I use. Since I already have a JPT set up, I'm just going to pick one of my fiber machines. This is my first laser with an ignition. None of my other ones, the lasers only machine just has 3 switches, like with the flat part that you pinch and twist. It has 3 of them. The Haoshin has a button, a switch for my up and down movement, and then an e-stop. And this one has a key. And that doesn't, oh, there we go, indicator light. And you can see here that this had the nice slit style, line style of the red beam. It's probably all out of focus because I unscrewed it. So, or screwed it all the way in. But that'll be going bye-bye. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but there is a red dot. And it's a good sign because that red dot looks like it's coming out pretty close to the center of the beam. Man, not being able to see this screen is really starting to irritate me. Let's go. So it doesn't look like you can see it. Here, let's use our nifty PTZ. So let's hit set 6. So it memorizes that. And then sorry, the feedback on this is kind of slow. So we're going to go left. That's odd. It doesn't really seem to be showing in the camera. Still can't really see it. Well, I can see it with my eye, and it seems like it's lined up pretty well with the center of the hole. So call 6666. Are you not? Okay, well, it didn't memorize 6 for some reason.
All right, so we'll leave it here anyhow because that's where the action is going to be happening. And so we're just going to do, I guess, a circle in the middle of the field. I guess it doesn't really matter where it's at because it's not drawing any shapes anyhow. We're going to make it a small circle so it doesn't spend too much time on. So let's make it a 5mm circle and make it like 1,000 speed. I don't even know what power should be. I don't think Alex is still around. Kyle, you still around, buddy? Oh, they're both still here. Here we go. 20% most I'd start with. All right, cool. Thanks, Kyle. I was thinking 30, but I like your 20. All right, so 1,000, 20% speed. And I'm thinking probably 40 kilohertz on the frequency, huh? And I'm going to go with a 2mm interval. So it's going to hopefully just pulse on real quick and then pulse off. I'm a scaredy cat, always go conservative. Heck yeah, dude. I'm not trying to blast holes through my walls, start a fire. All right. Eye protection. I thought I grabbed my goggles. What'd I do with them? These are they're rated for 1064, so I don't know what I did with my goggles, but I'm not going to waste a bunch of time looking for them. So let's hit start and then start. Doesn't look like we did anything. Maybe I left it not on high or long enough. So let's try that again. Start. Start. All right, I'm going to up the power to 32. Oh, we got a hole. Hopefully you guys can see that. Hopefully. And if we're being honest, it looks like that hole is very close to the center. So let's break out the calipers. So edge to edge, this thing's looking like maybe 17mm. And if I kind of line that up, that's at 8. I mean, it seems like it could probably get shifted this way some. So what we can do is the up and down seems fine. Like vertical seems pretty legit. Oh, I did it up with 2 holes. Maybe it's just one beam hole that didn't burn all the way through. I'll have to double check that. All right. So we want to go this way a hair.
did I? I'm trying to make a small adjustment as possible so that, like, because it's moving, I don't know, 100 millimeters before it contacts the tape. So a small adjustment is going to make a big difference up here. So let's hit it. All right, I'm going to hit it again. I can smell the tape burning, but it doesn't smell like it made it all the way through. Oop, there we go. Now we got a nice hole. Make a drinking game. Every time I say hole, you guys take a drink. Sorry. Okay, so that. Where's my ruler at? I think I put the ruler over here. We got some. I saw smoke. Yep. Pulse for a second. Needs that double boop. Yep. 2 bumps and a grind. All right. So if we center this along the hole, we're 2 millimeters shy of the 8. And scribble off that one. So we're 2 millimeters shy at the 8 and about 1.5 millimeters at the 6. So maybe we just need to kind of, let's try again. Oh, shoot, we got a bigger hole that time. All right, we're gonna pause for a second. Trying to get smoke on my collimator. It's the double boop comment. Okay, so another piece of tape. We'll just do 1 pulse this time because I don't know what happened that last time, but hot diggity dog. 1 was enough to set it on fire, I think. 2 was too much. Tell you guys, I love this freaking tape. It is so good and so useful. The way that, like, you could see it marked where I was rubbing the wrench. It marks with fiber lasers. It marks with diode lasers. It marks with CO2 lasers. It marks with UV lasers. It is very, very useful. And since you can't even buy it from me right now, I don't feel like it's pushing it too hard. All right, so I think we're good. It seems like it seems like we're in a real good spot with this. I think we're pretty much locked in. So I'm going to tighten these. And for the sake of being overly cautious, I think I'm going to hit it again just to make sure this doesn't shift from the tightening. And I'm starting to think this could have been one of a multitude of issues that caused the problem, because one of these screws being out could have just shifted the collimator to a point where it wasn't hitting the mirrors dead on anymore. So that would definitely be a good cause for it to have a stronger beam in certain areas and a much weaker beam in others, I think, just depending on where it was hitting the mirrors. So, and if I'm wrong about that, somebody let me know. But I think just with what I know, it feels like that's a possibility. And if you agree, hit that like button, maybe subscribe. You can see this bad boy in action. Son of a. Okay, so we're going to pulse it again after tightening. And yeah, it seems like it's spot on still. So I'm going to take and run these other screws in the rest of the way, just so that they're contacting. And maybe if something goes funky in the future and something kind of is already in, one of these other screws starts like letting loose a little bit, then maybe they'll help hold things into place. But I don't want to tighten those too much because it could kind of shift things, because this is aluminum. Even though it's fairly thick, I mean, there's still the possibility that something could shift if you torque it too hard. So I don't want to do that. I want to put them in there so that they're contacting and just a little, so that it hopefully holds it in place. So, man, I think we have come a long stinking way. But we're not stopping yet. Not until this thing goes bzzz. All right, where are my 4 original screws at? Here they are. Anybody else feeling good about this? Anybody else as stoked as I am? I don't want to give away how much I paid for this quite yet, but let's just say that if I do get this thing up and running, I have a couple people that might be interested in taking it off my hands. It's that good of a price. So I'm kind of torn, but kind of not. My ultimate hope is that by the end of the year, I will have had sufficient cash flow to justify purchasing a 100-watt, give or take, source to swap into the lasers only laser. What's that? Grave Dreams, you got this, dude. Gonna be talking like R2D2 soon. Heck yeah, man. I hope so. I almost made a video the other day. I was cutting through some 16 gauge steel, and it was with the 30 watt. And surprisingly, I was using the 160 millimeter lens, which actually did a really good job at cutting through that steel. Better than I had thought. Granted, it still took a couple hours, but yeah, I was making some really interesting sounds, and I was like, man, I have another channel that I've been ignoring, but it's laser ASMR, and it's just the sights and sounds of laser engraving. Maybe that's the right one. Because I don't know about you guys, but one of the things that drew me to fiber lasers was the cool sounds and the high speed and flashing lights, all that first was like, how do I get one of those? And of course, I think the first time I saw them was before the big price dip that's happened over the last couple of years. And yeah, these machines have gotten, I don't want to say cheap because they're not cheap, but they're relatively cheap if you consider the prices of them a dozen years ago, even 5 years ago. Here I am going freaking lefty loosey because I'm not paying attention. It's like lasers are one of the few things post pandemic that the prices have gone down on them. Just getting these in with my fingertips as far as they'll go to try and save on the painstaking process of driving them in with the Allen wrench. If anybody has any questions or requests, I'm always looking for good reasons to do content. I kind of like the live format. I think I'm going to try and focus a lot of my energy on that because I have a tendency of getting 2/3 or 3/4 through like a structured video, and I'm just like, ugh. And I'm super ADHD most of the time, so if I lose focus for even a second, it's just dead to me. There have been movies like that too that I just got a little bit bored with and then fell asleep, and then I will never watch them again. I don't know. Anybody else weird like that? Where you're just like, oh, that doesn't exist anymore because I got bored for literally a second. But yet I'll sit here and watch people make music with a Galvo laser because that's interesting. All right, so you know what? I'm going to, just for safety's sake, I want to all of a sudden be introducing a signal to this thing with loose connections. Grave Dreams, me with Game of Thrones season 4. Oh, really? I never even started it. I'm also like that guy. I'm part hipster, I think, where if something's too popular, I'm just like, I don't want anything to do with that. So like Game of Thrones, House of Cards, all the real popular television shows. I'm not a huge TV guy to begin with. So yeah, I'm just kind of eh.
All right, so I'm going to do a quick comparison. This is out of my 30 watt. I am not putting this on that surface. Simple Green to the rescue. I'm taking the spacer and the lens out of my 30 watt, and I'm going to compare it to the spacer and lens off of this guy. And we're going to see how they compare in comparison to their comparing. I think I've said compare too many times. That's after being cleaned once already. Holy moly. Maybe you see why I was apprehensive about this machine when I first showed up. All right, so here we go. We have a relatively clean surface that I won't get all cringed out by putting a lens on. So, oh shoot, I have you guys zoomed in still, don't I? See, rookie, rookie, rookie. How's it look? Oh, well, at least I haven't completely had you guys looking at something or nothing. Let's budge it down a little bit. A little bit to the right. All right. Hopefully this will be good. All right, so this is the OPEX lens that they had installed in this machine. And it is a couple millimeters taller than the lens that I have installed in my machine. So being very, very, very careful. This is like 55 millimeters tall, whereas this is about 50 millimeters tall. So this, in theory, would probably need a 5 millimeter taller spacer, I would think. Now, tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong in thinking this. Because this comes out 5 millimeters more, but also the threading on this is up far higher than the threading on this. So then maybe it would need a 15 or 20 millimeters shorter, because you can see here are the threads on the lens out of this machine, and here are the threads on the lens out of my 30 millimeter or 30 watt. These two adapters are essentially the same height. So part of my method of thinking was, I think that because of the height of the spacer on this, if you were to screw this all the way in, hopefully you can see, and I'll try and hold it up for you.
hopefully you can see that this lens is like flush or maybe even a little bit recessed in comparison to this spacer. Now, granted, these are different Galvo heads too, so that could be a possible variable. But when I take this lens and screw it in, it protrudes from the top of the spacer a good 10-ish millimeters, we'll call it. So when this adapter is screwed in to this Galvo head, this lens is going to be 10 millimeters closer to the mirrors than this lens was. And if that 10 millimeters of this distance, that's a lot of like possible overshoot that the mirrors were making with that beam. So very gently, I'm going to try to thread this in. And if you look inside the Galvo head, where the threads end, it kind of goes up and then in and then up again. And the way that the size of the area that it opens up to seems to be about the size of this part of the lens. So to me, it makes me feel like this lens needed to be much closer to the Galvo head in order for this laser to operate properly. So we're going to have to check and see. Let's turn this back on. Boom. We have a red dot coming out. So that's win number one. Oh, for goodness sake. Let's get this out of the way. I'm going to give you guys just a little bit more zoom, I think. All right, so I think somebody mentioned something. Hit the mirrors. Yeah, that's not what we want to do. But I eyeballed it. It seemed like it was good to go, and yeah. So I think we're good. Oof, that was nasty. Sorry about that. I think we're focused in pretty good on the bed. So let's try something. Where's my 100 millimeter tape? Try not to get in front of the camera because it seems like it's screwing up the exposure pretty bad, and I'm sorry about that. All right, so we're gonna put our tape on the bed of our laser. And this is where we're no longer going to be able to use my generic. I've got it set up for 300 millimeter. So we're not going to be able to use that anymore. This is my 300 millimeter. Disregard. So we are going to be able to use that still. So this is the F420 that I purchased for a whopping, what was this one? $29, $30 on Amazon. Not to be confused with the F210 that I just recently bought on Amazon for something like $16.99. And if you go back to my very first live stream, that was actually done in this room. And I set up that
lens. And I think I have to go to 470 on this. Let me read my. Where did I write that? On the 30 watt, that put me roughly in focal range. So let's, dude, my insides are like boiling right now, like butterflies. I have so much anxiety. Whew. Okay, so this is a big moment. This is going to determine if I made a giant mistake or not. No, that's not what we want to do. Control Z. All right, so we're gonna center you. Frame it. Oh, here we are. We have a square. I'm hoping you guys can see that. The light control in this room is kind of crappy. I'm not sure if you can see that or not. Let's go left a smidge and let's zoom in a little bit more. Oh yeah, so this thing went to sleep. I'm sorry if you guys missed it. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm about to jump out of my freaking skin. There, you can see it. Awesome. So freaking awesome. You can see there's a freaking square there. It's not blurry. It's not jacked up. It's a freaking square. And it did it perfectly. It framed perfectly. Woo! All right. So let's go out to 120 millimeters and see what happens. I'm going to up the power a little bit. Oops. All right. So we're going to go 10 and a half. And we are, dude, we're getting a good frame. There's no problem with the frame. So let's go ahead and hit fire. Let's run it again just for shits and giggles and hit escape. And there we are, ladies and gents, without doing a lens calibration, which it looks like there might be a little bit of pinch here. This did a square. And it did a square that was 115 millimeters. So obviously a lens correction is due, but let's keep going. Let's keep going. We have 300 millimeters to mess with. I almost said a potty word. Matt's not even here. All right, so I don't think I cranked this down too hard. Oh, let's not do that. All right, let's try just a smidge loose. All right. Let's stick with that. Guys, I think we did it. I think we did it, bro. This thing, we took it apart, we inspected it, we checked it for any faults, we cleaned it a little bit, realigned the collimator, and I am almost convinced at this point that the only issue with this laser was that the spacer was too large for it, and the lens couldn't get close enough to the mirrors for it to actually direct the beam the way it's supposed to. So
I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. Buying a laser thinking that you might have to do a $300 repair and finding out that you can repair it for $60 worth of gas and 6 hours of your life. That is, whew. All right, so we're going to push this to 250 millimeters, which is 50 millimeters shy of our perimeter, but I haven't done any correction on this, so I just wanted to keep it outside or inside the 300. And frame it. And you can see it's framing on the bed of the laser, or hopefully you can see it's framing on the bed of the laser. And fire. And fire. Oh, yeah. You have to hit the start button, not the start button on the main menu. And fire. Okay, you can definitely see an exaggeration since it's larger of the pinch. So it is pinched on what I'm going to go ahead and assume is, I think, the y-axis, because this machine, I believe, because I have, when I zoomed in on the two workstations, you probably saw that my two Gantt or Galvo machines are facing each other sideways on the table. Lightburn has a cool function where you can just rotate your field 90 degrees and you're good to go. Also, when you do your lens calibration, you can do all of your measurements inside of Lightburn. And then when you tell it where the dragon was positioned and which way it was facing, it's going to automatically adjust your field for you. So that when you're standing here, say this is the way you're going to work on the laser, you don't have to mentally rotate anything. You can put something down and know that it's going to engrave the top of it here, the bottom of it here, the left of it here, and the right of it here. I believe that's built in because when I did a calibration on the F210, I'm pretty sure I ended up rotating the field, then doing the calibration, and then my field ended up even more rotated. So forgive me if I'm incorrect, but I believe that that's true. So just something to keep in mind. So I don't know what else to say, guys. I'm looking in chat right now. Let's see. Say it. I did a thing. LOL. Dude, I did a thing. We did it. We did a thing. Everybody who's a part of the community, everybody who's given me advice, everybody who's ever shared any kind of information has contributed to this freaking moment right here. So I'm freaking happy, man. Freaking happy. That LOL. 100%. Yeah. You too, Kyle. You're the one that I conversed with on this. I trusted you, and you didn't you didn't lead me astray. But we're kind of both jiving on the same idea too. We knew it wasn't probably not the collimator, because if the beam came out jacked up, it would be jacked up here, it would be jacked up here, it'd be jacked up here, it'd be jacked up here. It wouldn't just be jacked up in the middle. Because it'd be the same beam bouncing off the mirrors being redirected in different spots. If the source itself was damaged, it wouldn't be deep engraving the way it was in the video that she showed me. So all these things adding up, it just made sense. So it's all working. I missed out a bit here. Had to mute you while I was on a call. While yeah, dude, it's working. You should be able to see, at least you could before. Yeah, you can see the lines. I'm zoomed in a little too far for that 300 millimeters now. Sorry about that. But you can see the lines where I did what was it? 60, a 120, and then a 280 millimeter square, and it engraved it perfectly. So my theory from yesterday afternoon till now was that this laser had the wrong spacer in it. And this goes back to a video that Alex did a couple years ago that he's spoken recently about needing to redo, and I wholeheartedly agree, because these two lenses are very different in design. Why is it making that sound? Oh, I guess the lens was just isolating that noise more. But yeah, these two lenses are very different. And they would require different sized spacers in order for them to work with the same laser head. So this lens being an Opex, and it says Ronar Smith on the cap, but my guess is they bought it from a source similar to the source that I got one of my lenses from, and it said it was an Opex, and it also came with a Ronar Smith cap on it, but I paid $100 for it. So it being a legitimate Ronar Smith, I don't know. They come from China. China doesn't necessarily respect copyrights, so who knows? But this lens has a big fat ring at the bottom with threads up high. This lens has a thinner ring at the bottom with threads way down low. This spacer is the spacer that this lens was in. This spacer is the spacer that was in my laser from Lasers Only. And they are the same height. So this lens having threads way up high should have had probably a 10 millimeter shorter spacer to compensate for the fact that the threads are going to keep the lens way down here versus being up where it needed to be. So it wasn't tucking up into the Galvo head close to the mirrors like it needed to be. No, it's not just you. I'm sorry, dude. It's my laptop keeps going to sleep and I need to figure it out. I'm sorry, guys. 100% my fault. I'm going to go into my settings and figure out how to keep it from going to sleep. But yeah, hopefully you guys caught some of that. In short, what I was saying is this spacer, if this spacer was 10 millimeters shorter, this lens probably would have worked with this machine with no problems. And they could have saved themselves the time, money, and frustration, and definitely the money of buying themselves a new Thunder laser. Because we all know, or most of us probably know, that Thunder is definitely a premium price. Hey, excuse me, guys, for just 1 second. Okay, sorry about that, guys. It was my wife. We're kind of at the end anyhow, and we got to have a quick little conversation. So let's see, money, money, money. Yeah, dude, that's crazy. Like, I don't know, man. I think it's phenomenal that I was able to get this for such a good deal. I think it's phenomenal that
I had confidence in myself to put myself in a position where I would have a considerable amount of money invested in something that I wasn't 100% sure. I was like 99% sure, but wasn't 100% sure was going to work. And, I probably sound like I'm just kissing ass all the time, but I just 100% have to say, like, legitimately, is because of the Laser Everything community that I felt comfortable doing this. It's the knowledge that I've gained by being a part of the community, by being a moderator on the Discord, which, by the way, if you aren't on the Discord, join the Laser Everything Discord. It's a great group of people. We don't have nearly enough activity. Like, we have a good amount of activity, but not enough, like, a variety of people. So the more people we get in there, the better conversations, and the more conversations we're going to have. Everybody there is willing to help out. A lot of us don't necessarily have all of the experience that some people do. Some of us do. The LMA is still a great asset if you are facing a serious problem or issue. The Discord is a freaking fantastic place just to hang out, get to know guys, and be good, man. And so we welcome you there. We'd love to have you. And Alex, your freaking your lens video just made an awesome score. So thank you, sir. And thank you, everybody that came to watch today. I really do appreciate it. You guys are all superstars. And the next time you see me, which will possibly be this week, I'm going to be doing some work on something with a new to me 50 watt JPT-LP that is fully functional and marking nearly the entire 300 millimeter field without issue, aside from lens correction. So thanks, guys, so much for sharing your time. Thank you so much for sticking around. And if you did like and subscribe, thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it. Y'all are awesome. Have a great, fantastic day.